Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fraternity Foodie. My name is Mike Eilon with Greek University, and welcome to episode number 4. We're starting to make some traction here, which is great, and we are going to continue to tackle some of the really tough conversations within fraternity and sorority life. And also, we're going to get the inside scoop on what our guests like to eat and where we can go to get it. So stay tuned towards the end. We're going to cover that, I promise, for all the foodies that are out there. So today we have with us Lauren Crumbaker, and basically Lauren, she is one of the newest speakers that we have at Greek University, and she's also a recruitment specialist. So for everybody who's out there listening, they're looking to grow their organization in the spring or beyond, this is going to be a great interview for you. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of really good information out of it. So welcome, Lauren. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Excellent. So we initially met as speakers at a conference at your alma mater, University of La Verne in California. So tell us, what was it like being a student at La Verne? What was it like being a Sigma Kappa there?
Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. I never really realized that you're in this, what we call La Verne bubble, until I started traveling with Sigma Kappa. And I realized how blessed I was to be able to go to a university like University of La Verne, because they're just so unique. It's small, so you know tons of people, and it's easy to get involved. What I found is students at bigger universities, they tend to stick to like one thing, whether that's student government or just Greek life, or maybe just two things. They're very limited because there's so much and so many students. Where at University of La Verne, I was involved in everything: student government, Sigma Kappa, orientation week leaders, spotlight leaders for admissions, just so many things. And being a Sigma Kappa was just magical, I guess is the word I would use to describe that. I was very involved in Sigma Kappa, and when I first joined Sigma Kappa, when I was going through recruitment, I wanted a sorority that would make me grow and would make me go outside of my comfort zone. And that was definitely Sigma Kappa. When I first went in, I was a shy girl. And when I got out, I was definitely not shy, definitely Miss Little Talker. And it's because of Sigma Kappa that I was able to get out of my shell. And being a Sigma Kappa at the University of La Verne is just such an amazing experience. And just being in Greek life at the University of La Verne was really great. All of the university Greek life is very, very close. There's only 4 sororities and 2 fraternities. So we were friends with each other, and we did socials and different activities. We always supported each other. So it was really great support system that you don't find too much. I noticed that when I was traveling, that there's a lot of competition between different organizations. And yes, we had competition, but it was more like in our Greek scene and things like that, instead of like the bad competition. So it was really great to have those friends and have that support system.
That's excellent. So I definitely feel you. I feel like we had very similar experiences within Greek life. At the University of Buffalo, I came in a very reserved, very shy person. And after I joined the fraternity, which was my second semester of freshman year, everything changed. And suddenly I had all of these leadership skills. I had these motivation skills. All of a sudden, speaking and socializing was really no big deal. And now it started this career where I'm out there speaking to 3,000, 4,000 students at a time. I don't think any of that is possible without the fraternity experience. And so I definitely understand where you're coming from. I feel the same way about it. And I think that's why I'm such a fan of Greek life, and I want to defend it, and I want to make sure that it grows. Admittedly, we have our share of problems, and we'll get to that. But certainly I feel like it is beneficial to students. And, also talking about values today, obviously incredibly important to make sure that we are honoring our values within our college campus, within our fraternity or sorority, even the values that we were taught as kids. So I feel like there's a lot of really good stuff with Greek life, and that's why I'm such a big supporter, is because of that same shared experience that I think you got at La Verne. So that's fantastic. And I think also the other thing that I think about is that many fraternity and sorority members around the country, they will typically have a leadership consultant that will come and visit with them maybe once a semester or once a year, depending on the organization. And I think that's when you start thinking about how big your organization is, that it really is beyond the La Verne bubble, right? Sigma Kappa is a huge organization. And so many undergraduates then start to think about, what would it be like working for my headquarters and actually making this into a profession of sorts? So I know you were a leadership consultant for Sigma Kappa. What was that like working for your headquarters?
It was, I can't even describe it. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. Coming from a small university and a small chapter, when I applied to be a consultant, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get this. There's no way. I'm coming from University of La Verne. Like, no, who heard of La Verne? Like, no one. So I just kind of did it on a whim. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Just take the risk. That's my motto, is take a risk, because the feeling of defeat is much better than knowing I didn't try at all, the what if feeling. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. 2 other women while I was in chapter had applied and didn't get it. So I was like, yeah, we'll see. If I don't get it, I don't get it. I didn't have that high of expectations. And then I got the video interview and I was like, oh, okay, this is very exciting. At least I got to this level. And then the video interview I felt was the most awkward thing I've ever done in my life. It was a 10-minute interview and they asked me the most random questions. So I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to NHQ for that in-person interview. That was the worst interview ever. And then a couple weeks later, I got the phone call that I'm going to NHQ, and I was just in shock. I was just so blessed to be able to go to NHQ. And I was like, you know what? If I don't get it, at least I get this amazing experience to meet women across the country and these amazing candidates. So I went, and it went really well, I felt like, but then again, in the back of my head, small girl from a small chapter, there's no way when there's people from like University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and like all these other universities that are just huge. And then 2 weeks later on the dot, I got a phone call that I got it, and I just started crying. And I was like, wow, this is just an amazing, amazing thing that they want someone from a small chapter. And it just shows that they want people from all over different backgrounds, small chapters, big chapters, medium chapters, chapters that aren't doing as well, chapters that are doing well. So they want that because they have so many chapters that are just not one different or one specific chapter. But being a consultant was amazing. I got pushed out of my comfort zone more than I would have ever imagined. I got the chance to live in Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm literally moved from coast to coast, from Southern California all the way to Charleston. You can draw a line across the map, knowing no one, no family, no friends, working with a chapter I'd never met before. I walked into the room and these women are staring at me like, who is this? Like, why is she here? Which of course they know, they were a newer chapter, so they knew I was the consultant, but having to immediately develop that relationship and have them trust me, it was challenging. But it was so amazing. By the end, I did not want to leave. I did not want to leave Charleston. I absolutely loved the chapter. And I consider myself maybe part of their chapter because I just loved them so much. And then I felt like I got best of both worlds because I was a residential consultant and I also got to travel a little bit. So I still got to do those week-long visits with different chapters. So definitely had best of both worlds, and I grew in myself. I learned different communication skills. I learned more about Sigma Kappa that I never thought I would know. Being a senior, you think that you know everything about Sigma Kappa or about your organization because you've been in it for 4 years. No, you're barely scratching the surface. And being a consultant, you learn everything. You get it like a fire hose down your throat during training because you need to be able to help these chapters. So it was just so great. Going to places that I never thought I would go to or just go to on my own. Being in California, I don't see much weather, so besides sunshine and the occasional rain. So being able to see snow and hurricane weather and things like that, it was a fun experience to get outside of my California bubble.
Nice. I agree with you. I think working for my headquarters as well, I learned all kinds of things that I really didn't know as an undergraduate or even as an alumnus who really was kind of on the periphery, right? So that's great that you had that experience. And I think you would also fit in very well in the South, by the way. Just saying, I think you'd fit in perfectly, even though you're a California person. So that's pretty cool. So, one of the other things that I started thinking about too is I know you're involved on a national level currently. And I wonder, what is it about you that makes you want to be involved on a national level as an alumnus? Because the reality is that most IFC fraternities, most Panhellenic sororities, it's a 4-year experience for so many of them, and it never goes beyond graduation. So what is it about you? What is it about us that we're so weird that we want to stay involved on a national level? Why is that?
I think for me, my first experience of seeing Sigma Kappa on a national level was going into my junior year. I was able to go to Sigma Kappa convention in Henderson, Nevada, and I was able to see these women that were in their 70s and 80s that were Sigma Kappas going down the hallways and still having so much passion for Sigma Kappa, for the organization. It kind of showed to me that Sigma Kappa is more than just the Theta Beta chapter at the University of La Verne, and seeing the council members, and we were able to take a picture with them and talk a little bit with them, the woman I went with from La Verne, and seeing how the passion they had for Sigma Kappa and for the chapters, it really instilled something in me and kind of changed my outlook on Sigma Kappa. And from then on, I knew that I wanted to volunteer for Sigma Kappa for the rest of my life. I wanted my daughter to be, I want my daughter to be a Sigma Kappa. And then I actually got my mom initiated a couple months ago into Sigma Kappa. So it's something that's such a huge part of my life. And like I said before, I was the shy girl that came into college. I hated change. I didn't really want to get involved. I just kind of wanted to stay in my own little shell. And Sigma Kappa pushed me out of that. So I wanted to give something back and give women that are maybe like me, show them what Sigma Kappa and Greek life can do for them. And even men too. I had really great friends that I convinced to go through the fraternity recruitment, and they loved it. And it's just something that I want to give back to these men and women, to show them that it's not just 4 years. That's just scratching the surface. There's so much you can do, like join an alumni chapter, get involved on a national level, even advise for a chapter. Like there's so much that you can do that's outside of college. And people need to kind of realize that. And I think that the issue is maybe they don't know. So I want to continue to educate people to know there are different avenues that you can take, not just in college.
Incredible. Now, I know values-based recruitment is something that's really important to you, and it's a concept that's been around in our industry for a very long time. I know that I've read articles saying that, values-based recruitment is dead and, it's the end of it. And there are people out there who certainly think that we shouldn't be forcing values-based recruitment down people's throats, mostly because 18-year-old men, 18-year-old women, they're not necessarily interested in joining values at that particular time. I think what they really want is a connection. They want belonging to other like-minded people. So do you agree with that philosophy?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Everything goes back to values. Even if they are joining someone that's like-minded, that's because they have the same values. And I think that these men and women need to realize that, do they want the person to have the same values as them, or do they want to grow the chapter, or do they want it to expand? They need to think about the future. Do they want to come back to alumni events when they're 30, 40, 50 years old? Do they want something to come back to? Because as of right now, Greek life is at a very pivotal point. We constantly see things in the news, and that goes back to recruitment. Who are you recruiting? So if they are recruiting people that are the party animals, or are people that are not coming, that won't come to meetings or chapter events, that will constantly be sent to standards council, then that's not going to grow. And we're just going to continue that same cycle of of that circle that we are recruiting people that will haze or that will put us in the news. We need to break that cycle, and we need to realize, what are our values? Are we recruiting with those values? And are we recruiting those people that we want to continue this legacy? It goes back to recruitment. That's kind of the base. I truly believe is the base of all chapters is, are we recruiting the right people? And sometimes they're not. They just want people that are just like them, that want to continue partying and be drunk on every Friday, Saturday night at a football game and are constantly be sent to standards council. But that's not a good way to let our Greek life grow. And it's just going to continue down this deep hole of people dying, people getting sent to the hospital, hazing. It's just going to continue that cycle. So we really need to break that notion that we need to recruit people that are just like us. We need to be recruiting with the values that we want to see into the future.
I agree. And I think we both know chapters that recruit with alcohol. We know chapters that recruit with parties. I mean, this is, certainly something that's out there. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody watching. So assuming that we buy into that philosophy, that values-based recruitment truly is the way that we want to move forward, how do we really do that? How can students start a values-based recruitment conversation with a potential new member?
It's very simple. It's the questions you ask. It's, what have you done in high school? What are your friends like? If your friends were to describe you, how would they describe you? What do you want out of a sorority or fraternity? What can you give to the chapter? It's those simple questions that you can really pinpoint of who these people are. We need to stop having the surface-based conversations. We need to dive deep into who is going to be wearing our letters. Is it someone that's going to make us proud that we recruited them, or is it someone that's going to get suspended or get expelled or constantly be sent to standards council? So we need to dive deep into these conversations and just ask the simple questions like, what is something you want out of Greek life? What can you bring to Greek life? What is your perception of it? And then you can really figure out who these people are.
Yeah, I like asking that question, what do you want out of Greek life, or what do you want out of this experience at La Verne? Because I think at that point you can show them how the sorority or how the fraternity can help them get to where they want to go. It's really the simplest question to ask, but it's also very open-ended. It starts a conversation. It's not, what's your major, which is going to be over in 2 seconds, right?
Right.
It's much more open-ended. So I like that. So we've also seen chapters on campuses across the country start to gossip about other groups on campus, especially during recruitment time. I see that goes to a high level. They start talking badly about other organizations on campus, really, I think, in an effort to increase their own recruitment results. They think that if they talk badly about another organization on campus, that somehow that is going to net in some additional recruits that they wouldn't ordinarily get. So is this really an effective strategy to talk badly about other organizations on campus?
Absolutely not. No, I've seen this more often than not. And I have to explain that you're turning away these women, especially now. I've seen with this newer generation that's going through recruitment, that's coming to college, they're not as judgmental as, what we've seen before. So if people are talking badly about each other, they're going to be like, wait, what am I joining? And it's just not a good strategy. And people want to join something that they know they're going to create friendships. And it's not good. Not good. I can go on about this topic forever, but just no. It's not a good tool.
Very good. All right, I agree with you completely. Now, I think, getting back to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, right now, Greek life is under the microscope. We all know that there are sexual assaults happening on college campuses, alcohol and drugs, hazing. I think that these things are not necessarily things that are unique to just Greek life. I do think that that's kind of a microcosm of what's happening on college campuses overall. So, certainly we see it within Greek life, but we also see it in athletics. We also see it in other student organizations. And so I guess my question for you is, how can we create a more positive image for our fraternities and sororities?
It's very simple. It's either going on your social media and making sure that you're posting appropriate things, that you're not posting you partying or you wearing inappropriate things or, different things like that. It's as simple as that. But then going a little bit deeper, here I go talking about recruitment again, but it's who are you recruiting? Are you recruiting someone that's not going to represent your letters well? So as soon as we break that trend again, it will just be a whole new world that people want to promote Greek life in a positive way. They want to make sure that they're representing their organizations well. And they realize that even if they're not wearing something that says Sigma Kappa or their letters, that people are still looking at them. And because people tend to think like, oh, I'm not wearing, Sigma Kappa or our letters or anything. Like, people don't know who I am. Yes, you do. You're in a fishbowl, and people are sitting there looking at this fishbowl waiting for you to mess up so that they can go and spread, oh, so-and-so did this, or this organization represents this. So it's as simple as who are you recruiting and how are you representing yourself?
Yeah, I love it. All right, so let's get into the food because we got a lot of foodies watching here. What is your favorite meal and where can we go to get it?
Yes. I think my favorite meal depends on the time of year or my mood. Being in close to LA, there's every food you can imagine. But right now, my favorite food is ramen. And ramen places are popping up everywhere. It's like the latest fad. But my favorite one, I've tried lots of ramen places, but my favorite one is Slurpin' Ramen in Koreatown in LA. It is just so good. You'll probably have to wait probably 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour just to get in. And I don't think they take reservations, and it's a small little restaurant. It's the best ramen that you'll ever have. And then of course right now is, Christmas time. So my favorite meal right now is going to be coming up next week. It's our family recipe of spaghetti. So it's been passed down through the generations, and you can get it on Christmas Eve at my grandparents' house. I'm very excited.
Now, is this spaghetti that's homemade or are we getting boxes from the store?
It's the boxes from the store, but the sauce is just amazing. And I think probably it's my favorite because of the memories of making it with my grandpa and him showing me how to make it, how to roll the perfect meatball. If there's a giant baseball-sized meatball, it's not good. You have to have the perfect size. It can't be too small. It can't be too big. He's made me redo them before. So I think it's just my memories of my grandpa. He's turned 90 this year. So I cherish, every memory with him because I know, I probably don't have much time left with him. So being able to make that spaghetti is my absolute favorite.
That's excellent. I'm sure that it's going to be amazing as always, and I'm sure it's going to take you right back to childhood. As soon as you smell that sauce cooking, you're like, yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's great. So Lauren, where can our audience go to follow you on social media and engage with you further?
Yes, on Instagram at Crumbaker, and then Facebook, Lauren Crumbaker. There's one other Lauren Crumbaker in the United States. She plays softball. So don't follow her, but follow me. And yep, I have a Twitter, but I don't use it that much. I need to step that up. So if you follow me on Twitter at Crumbaker, I'll tweet more. I'll step up my tweeting game.
See, that's incentive for our audience. Make sure you go and follow her on Twitter. Get her more active on that platform. Excellent. So I know Lauren's schedule is already starting to fill up quite quickly for spring recruitment. So now's the time to get her on your campus to speak with the students before all of those spring dates are going to be filled up. So excellent. Thank you so much. This has been really helpful, I'm sure, for many chapters around the country, starting to think about what their recruitment is going to look like for the spring. And thank you so much for the audience. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on an upcoming edition of Fraternity Foodie. So thank you so much, Lauren. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.